Hi, I'm Matt and welcome to my latest tech news video. I'll be covering recent tech news in this video. These videos will generally cover gaming related tech, but also tech and hardware and maybe a bit of science. And yeah, I'm grateful for any feedback, so if you feel the need to do so, please leave a comment below. You can also like and subscribe if you're enjoying my videos. I will now get into some tech news from the past week or so. We are starting today's video with some PS5 update news. So a new beta system software update for the PS5 is now available and it actually released on Monday. So it's been out for almost a week. But I think you've got to be invited by Sony for it. But yeah, so this beta update adds a number of new features, but is only available to PS5 users in the US, Canada, Japan, the UK, Germany, and France. The main features are Dolby Atmos support, UI enhancements, and support for PS5 compatible SSDs with up to 8 terabytes of storage space. So big jump on that. Yeah, 8 terabytes of storage is pretty high, especially for a console. I think the Xbox Series S can go up to a max of 2 terabyte with a Seagate storage expansion card. But yeah, the PS5 can make use of off-the-shelf high-speed PCIe 4.0 NVMe SSDs. There is actually also an option with the beta update that lets you turn off the console's beep sound. So whenever that, I guess when you're turning it on and turning it off, I guess. And yeah, it looks like this update will be available globally later in the year. Apparently, the beta update, as I mentioned, is only invite only at the moment. Sony also said that the features that are in the beta update may not all end up in the full update or the final software build that is released to PS5 owners when the full update comes. But storage wise, if you want to get an 8 terabyte PCIe 4.0 NVMe SSD, then Sony recommends you get one with a sequential read speed of at least 5.5 gigabytes a second. When I've looked at listings of NVMe SSDs for previous videos, it is usually stated whether the drive is PS5 compatible. So yeah, maybe check that first. But yeah, 8 terabyte drives are usually they're fairly expensive. 8 terabyte SSDs selling for around the £900 or $1,000 mark if you did want one. But yeah, seems like a pretty interesting update. We'll just have to wait and see what Sony add or remove when the final update revision is released, and that'll be globally later this year. One thing I do suspect will stay in it is probably the 8 terabyte limit. I doubt they would change that. But as for the rest of it, we'll just have to wait and see. Next up is a bit of a lengthy part of the video, and that's it's my first time covering this as well, I believe. So it may change it in the future, but I'll be going over the latest Steam hardware and software survey this is for the month of July. I'm pretty sure this is would have come out recently, I guess, obviously. But yeah, it's first time covering the Steam survey. I think I will just go over video card usage, processor usage, number of CPU cores, along with the operating system version and some other statistics. But yeah, as I said, I may change this around in the future because it's a bit lengthy. But yeah, just some details before I cover the survey. This data is only gathered from Steam's user base, but as you might expect, although I do believe the majority of PC gamers use Steam, so some might not or might slip through the cracks, so to speak. Also, this covers desktop and I believe mobile devices like laptops and handhelds like the Steam Deck, so anything with Steam installed on the device, whether it be a PC or a Steam Deck. Yeah, as far as I can tell, the users selected for the survey are completely random and it is optional. My PC hasn't been surveyed by Steam and thus isn't included in any of these surveys in quite a while. I can't remember the last time I actually participated in it. Firstly, I'll start with video card or GPU usage by manufacturer. As expected, Nvidia is in the lead and has been for quite a few years, with an overall usage rate as of the current latest survey of 74.69%. AMD is in second place with 15.93% of the Steam graphics user base as of this July survey. Intel is actually next at 9.02%, I believe this does include Intel's integrated graphics as well as their discrete graphics, which are newer. And I think the same actually goes for AMD's graphics as well. It will include their integrated stuff. But yeah, there's also a section for other, but it isn't surprising that that's at 0.36% overall usage. So that'll be other display cards and things that aren't made, I guess, by NVIDIA or AMD or Intel. I'll do a breakdown of the top 20 GPUs in usage, going by the survey, starting at the most popular, then going down in decreasing usage as detailed in the survey. Hopefully I've got these the order right. I counted through them. So yeah, first off with the the most popular GTX 1650. Second most popular is the RTX 3060. Third, GTX 1060, RTX 2060, then RTX 3060 laptop, I believe, and then GTX 1050 Ti, RTX 3060 Ti, RTX 3070, GTX 1660 Super, RTX 3050, RTX 3080, AMD Radeon graphics. I guess this is mobile, like Radeon GPUs, and then GTX 1660 Ti. In 14th place, Intel Iris Xe graphics. So I believe this is Intel integrated Iris mobile GPUs. 15th place, GTX 1050, then GTX 1070, Intel UHD, which is more Intel integrated mobile graphics. Then RTX 3070 Ti, then 19th place, RTX 2070 Super, and finally RTX 2060 Super. Yeah, a bit of a lengthy list there. So next is processor usage, with Intel in the lead at 66.1% of the Steam user base that was surveyed. This is actually a slight decrease compared to over a year ago. AMD is at 33.9% of the Steam user base, which, as these are the only two CPU manufacturers covered, is a slight increase over the past year. Now is the CPU core count. So Steam designates these cores as physical CPUs in their listing. So 6, or at least I think that's right, 6 or hexacore CPUs are in the lead with a percentage of 46.59% in the Steam survey. So that's actually a decrease of 0.02% since the last survey. In second place are 4 or quad core CPUs with a percentage of 20.79%. This is an increase of 0.49% since the last survey. Next up is 8 or octa-core CPUs at percentage usage of 18.04%, which is a decrease of 1.71%, which I'm a bit surprised about when compared to the previous survey. 12, or I guess dodeca-core CPUs, are at 4.6% of the users surveyed in the Steam survey, which is an increase of 0.21% over the last survey. Finally, on the CPU front, 16, or I guess hexadeca-core CPUs, I had to look this up, are at 0.95% of the users who are surveyed. This is actually an increase of 0.25%, which is fairly big when compared to that, the actual overall usage. So that's, yeah, again, compared to the last survey. There are more CPU core counts like 10 and 24 cores and things, but I didn't want to go into those. It would have been too much longer, I think. The CPU section anyway. Next, some information on Windows and other operating systems in use. So Windows 10 64-bit is in the lead with 57.87% overall usage. This is a decrease actually of 1.56%. As you might expect, Windows 11 64-bit is in second place, making up 36.67% of the Steam user base surveyed, which is an increase of 0.92% since the last survey. And actually, Mac OS operating systems in total use are at 1.84%, which is an increase of 0.05%. And total Linux operating system usage is at 1.96% of the users surveyed, an increase of 0.52% since the last survey. I will finally cover system memory, or RAM. So 16GB of RAM is the most popular by a fair amount, actually, at 49.8% of users surveyed, a decrease though of 0.75% compared to the last survey. In second place is 32GB of RAM at 19.63%, which is an increase of 2.02%. 8GB of RAM is in sort of third place, I believe, at 17.24% usage, which is a decrease of 0.3%. 4 GB is at 4.87%, up actually, but 0.26%. 12 GB is at 3.69%, so that'd be probably 2 sticks of 4 and 3 sticks of 4. 3 sticks of 4, sorry, which is down 1.78%. And finally, 64 GB of RAM is at 2.17%, which is up by 0.32%. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that was a lot of information. Hopefully you didn't get too bored. I may change how I detail the Steam surveys in the future, as that seemed a bit too drawn out, but maybe it's not. But yeah, there's plenty of information, more information in the survey actually. Go check it out if you want a breakdown of everything in it. I'll link it, but you can find it easily online on Steam's site. Next up, some shorter, less lengthy news. It looks like Intel may be readying its Arc A580 GPU, and a leaked test details how it actually performs. It looks like the A580 was actually announced almost a year ago. I hadn't heard of it actually. I only know of the A380, A750, and A770 variants. But yeah, so seemingly Intel had planned to release the A580 sooner, I guess, but decided against that until now for some reason. There are mobile Arc A5 GPUs, the A570M and A530M, and I guess now the potential A580 desktop card will join them soon. It looks like the Intel Arc A580 is paired with 8 GB of GDDR6 VRAM and a similar memory bandwidth to the A750 and A770. It will have a board power of 175 watts, the A580, which is less than the two higher end GPUs, which isn't surprising. And the actual leaked A580 results show that it was paired with an i7-12700 non-K CPU and a Z690 motherboard. The score it managed was an OpenCL score of 82,992, which is very similar to the Radeon RX 7600, which also is a 8 GB card. But Intel might be getting ready to launch this new GPU soon. I'd imagine sometime before the end of this year, although no specific date was given. If it does, then Intel will have released 5 dedicated desktop graphics chips, I believe. So the A380, A580, A750, A770 8GB, and A770 16GB, if I'm correct there. But yeah, it's quite interesting. A new GPU being released usually is, though I don't plan on ever buying one. It's still one of these A580s. It's still intriguing to see how it performs in gaming scenarios and some production workloads. Likely reviewers will get their hands on the A580, and I'll just have to wait until then and see how it performs in sort of real world scenarios, and maybe I'll report on that again when they're released and they get to YouTubers and things. Next up, more AMD GPU news. So it seems like there's a lot of AMD GPU related stuff recently, I guess, because Nvidia released most of their stuff earlier in the year, and now there's a lot of AMD stuff going on at the moment. But this time it's a confirmation of enthusiast class cards. So RDNA 3 graphics cards, confirmed that they will release in Q3 of this year. This was confirmed by AMD CEO Lisa Su during a recent AMD Q2 earnings call. Lisa Su said that the planned GPUs will expand the AMD Radeon 7000 lineup. She didn't actually name any GPUs directly, but it's likely she's referring to the RX 7800 or 7800 XT and the 7700 or 7700 XT. There are some rumors that AMD may also be releasing an RX 7950 XT sort of flagship, but apparently this isn't likely, as AMD has referred to flagship cards in the past as ultra enthusiast, but Lisa Su said their upcoming cards were enthusiast class rather than ultra enthusiast. So while a new flagship might be coming, it doesn't look like it will launch with the next batch of GPUs, though I could be totally wrong. Just have to wait and see. If they if they did release an RX 7950 XT, I'd be very interested to see how that performs when compared to Nvidia's RTX 4090. But one reason AMD has waited this long to release these enthusiast cards might be because they have a large amount of 6800 and 6900 series GPUs built up, and I think they might be waiting until inventory numbers drop before they were going to announce their sort of replacements. And yeah, I did report on rumors of the RX 7700 and 7800 cards in a previous video, but this seems sort of more concrete. So hopefully we see these cards surface soon. I would imagine the lower performing of the two models will perform similar to the RTX 4070, and the higher performing will likely be around the 4070 Ti. But yeah, VRAM wise, I'm thinking the RX 7700, the potential RX 7700, will have 12 or 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and the 7800 will mostly likely have 16 gigabyte. I wouldn't have thought it would have any more than that. Yeah, more GPUs that I'm interested in seeing the performance of. Yeah, it's been a while since AMD released a higher end card into the market, at least globally, as the 7900 GRE I spoke about is mostly China only at the moment. It could be that they want to coincide the launch of these sort of new GPUs with Starfield, as AMD has partnered with Bethesda for that game, which is another thing I covered in previous video, maybe a gaming news video, I think. So yeah, maybe they will come out around, or maybe a bit after Starfield's release, which is in September, and actually September fits with the last month of Q3. But yeah, so any update news on that, I'll definitely be covering those cards. Some more AMD news next, and that's AMD workstation GPUs. So these are two entry-level workstation GPUs, the Radeon Pro W7600 and W7500. These are cards will be targeted at workstation users, so CAD and the likes, I'm guessing, or any other sort of production workloads that doesn't need like tons of VRAM or compute power. So the Radeon Pro W7600 has a full Navi 33 GPU at its core, and will have 32 CUs, or compute units, and 64 AI accelerators. It will also have 8 gigabytes of DDR6 with a 128-bit memory bus, and will have a total board power of around 130 watts. The Radeon Pro W7500 is using a cut down Navi 33 GPU as its core, with 28 CUs, and is apparently considerably downclocked. So the W7500 has 56 AI accelerators, and it again is equipped with 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM on a 128-bit bus, similar to the higher end card. Also has a total board power of 70 watts. But yeah, a bit of extra info. Both GPUs are built using TSMC's 6nm lithography process, compared to TSMC's 7nm process used in the previous Radeon Pro, the W6600, at least the previous one in the same class as these two. AMD actually also has higher end Radeon Pro cards, notably the W7900 with 48 gigs of VRAM, and the 7800 with 32 gigs of VRAM. But yeah, I didn't realize they were a thing until I checked for the video. Pricing wise, the W7600 will be coming in at $599, and the W7500 at $429. Apparently, the both of these, so the 7600 and 7500, are comparable to Nvidia's workstation cards, the A2000 and T1000 models, respectively. And these new workstation GPUs should be available by the time this video is out, as I believe they had a planned release date of the 3rd of August. And now let's move on to some gaming handheld news. So this is related to Lenovo, who I believe are mostly known for laptops, are apparently entering the handheld PC market with competition from the Steam Deck and the Asus ROG Ally, and a bunch of other companies in the space. I'm actually interested to see how Lenovo performs in this market. The Lenovo handheld is likely to be named the Legion Go and feature an AMD Ryzen 7040 Phoenix APU, codename Phoenix APU. The device will come with Windows 11 as standard, which from what I've seen is generally the standard OS for most of these newer handhelds, though the Steam Deck uses its own custom Linux OS, I believe. Yeah, this Lenovo Legion Go is rumored to have an 8-inch display, which I think is on the larger side in comparison to other handhelds. A large screen will usually consume more power, but this can be somewhat offset, I guess, by changing settings and things. And the larger screen actually, I think, would be a selling point to me if I was in the market for one of these. Battery size hasn't been confirmed as of yet, but hopefully it's sufficient to provide a decent handheld gaming time, especially given the 8-inch display. You'd want a decent enough battery to drive that for at least a few hours, I'd hope. Yeah, as mentioned, it looks like the Legion Go will have a Ryzen-based codename Phoenix APU, similar to most other recent handhelds. So it'll likely perform similar to current handhelds with the latest AMD APUs. While not confirmed, my guess is that the display will be 16:9 and at 1080p, and I suspect it'll either be 60Hz or 120Hz, similar to the ROG Ally, which is 120Hz, I believe, and is also 1080p, I'm pretty sure. Pricing wise, nothing's been mentioned yet, but I would imagine it would cost at least $500 to $600 for sort of the base or minimum model on launch. So probably more expensive than the average Steam Deck, but cheaper than the Asus, the ROG Ally, and like the Ally and Steam Deck. I'm definitely interested in reviews for this device if and when it releases to see see comparisons with the Steam and Asus and other mobile handheld devices would be pretty cool. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on that. May do an update if it does release at some point. Up next, we've got some new PC news, or PC like pre-built PCs are launching. So Dell Alienware is launching a new line of redesigned Aurora R16 desktop PCs. I actually prefer the look of these when I took a look at some of the shots of them. Yeah, these newer PCs, yeah, definitely prefer the look of them to the older, more sort of extraterrestrial and inspired PCs by Alienware. They are they have like a more soft and simplistic design wise look to them, especially when compared to the previous larger like Alienware PCs. I don't mind the old design, but I do prefer this new look actually. So the size has actually been cut down by approximately 40%, which seems quite a lot, but does still have an internal volume of 25.5 liters. I guess that sort of you can tell by that. I think same internal volume, but 40% smaller. You can tell how much of the older PCs was just bulk that they didn't need. So that that 25.5 liters is the same as the older design. Also looks like it has more efficient airflow, which is good, and a larger intake vent and larger top ventilation. Another improvement. But yeah, this is said to improve thermals quite nicely, and the redesign has allowed the R16 to be up to 20% quieter as well than the outgoing R15. So yeah, the new Aurora R16, we'll get into some specs of it, can be configured with an Intel 12th or 13th gen CPU, including up to the i9-13900F. They didn't say the K, they just said the F. GPU wise, it can be equipped with an RTX 40 series card up to the 4070 Ti. I guess it's not possible to have a RTX 4080 or 4090, but maybe that will change in the future if they make Dell makes their own like smaller versions of those cards. If they, as they have done in the past, they've made their own like OEM versions of graphics cards. But yeah, maybe that will change. They'll make a 4080 or 4090 equipped model. So the base model has an i9-12900F with 16 gigabytes of DDR5, a 1TB SSD, and an RTX 4070. In some European and Asian markets, actually, I noticed they have a lower spec model with an RTX 3050 and 512 gig SSD. You can also choose either a 500 or 1000 watt power supply unit and either air or liquid cooling. On the pricing front, the base model starts at $1,749. So yeah, I guess it's on the more premium side at least when compared to DIY. Yeah, I suppose I wouldn't usually cover pre-built PCs, but given the Alienware brand has been around for quite a while, and a lot of people know of it, I thought I'd cover it. I've never owned an Alienware PC, but they do seem kind of cool design-wise, but especially this new one. But yeah, I usually just DIY my own PCs. At least I have done for my last 3 PCs. But yeah, I just thought that was a bit of interesting Alienware news. Got some storage news next. So Western Digital has began sampling 28 terabyte Ultra SMR hard drives. SMR stands for shingled magnetic recording, and is used to increase storage density. Is a technology used in hard drives to increase storage density. But yeah, I had a bit of a read on this. It can apparently reduce write speeds compared to PMR based hard drives, which stands for perpendicular magnetic recording. I think that's the general sort of traditional hard drive tech. Looks like these are aimed at enterprise customers, so like the 61 terabyte Solidigm NVMe SSDs I covered, I think it was last week. These likely won't be coming to the general consumer or market anytime soon. I've checked and it looks like you can actually get 22 terabyte hard drives from like Seagate and Western Digital, and they're fairly readily available, though they do cost upwards of £350. I saw some in the £500 range. But yeah, these new Western Digital drives will be in competition with Seagate's 32 terabyte HAMR or heat assisted magnetic recording PMR hard drives, which are higher storage and apparently offer, from what I read, more consistent and predictable performance. So yeah, that's some more enterprise and server grade hardware this week. It's quite interesting actually to cover this stuff sometimes, just as the technologies being used in these enterprise drives may end up one day coming to the sort of general consumer and DIY PC builders. The final bit of news for today is sort of science related, rather than sort of PC tech. But yeah, science related stuff. I'm glad to cover in this as well, if especially if it has might have some sort of benefit to PCs and tech in general. So yeah, this news is, you may have heard, it's fairly big news, is the recent superconductor breakthrough. So it has been claimed by a South Korean team that compound LK-99 can be used to create room temperature, ambient pressure superconductors. Currently, a number of teams from around the world are actually trying to validate the South Korean claims. A US researcher, Sinead Griffin at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, has given credence to the claim, and also a Chinese team has said it's true and actually provided video evidence. So superconductors are basically materials that allow electrical currents to flow with no resistance. Because of this, their wide-scale use could revolutionize many sectors and many applications in current and future technologies. So superconductors could give rise to a new revolutionary generation of computing, as computer chips are limited by our current technologies. A superconductor would allow almost flawlessly efficient computing due to the electrical current flowing with no resistance. So apparently currently there are 16 teams working hard to validate the claims that LK-99 is a superconductor and it works as hoped, as superconductivity is actually, I believe, one of the holy grails of science. It's quite a big one if it ends up being true and implemented. But yeah, as always, there are skeptics, so we'll have to wait and see whether this is indeed true. But given what the US and Chinese teams have detailed so far, it seems this might be more plausible than some people may have originally thought. So yes, that's very exciting news. And if any more information comes out regarding LK-99 and superconductors, then I'll definitely give updates on that in the future. As it may have quite the dramatic effect on the PC and computing space. Maybe not for, I don't know, a good few years, maybe a decade or more if it does work out. But we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, that's the main bit of news. Bit less this week than last week, I feel. But yeah, and not much new on the new and upcoming tech front. Only upcoming AMD GPUs I've spoke of, but yeah, that looks to be at least a month away. And tech deals wise, so I don't think I'll do this section every video, as prices seem to be fluctuating fairly often, but I think if there's anything noticeable, I will cover it in this section. I think mostly there have been reports of graphics card pricing sort of stabilizing after some slight drops the past few months, so I'm not sure whether they'll drop much more. One good thing though is I've covered this in the last few tech news videos, I believe, but storage, especially SSD storage, is an all-time low from what I'm hearing. So if you want to get more storage or a new SSD, now might be the time. And Yeah, I'm thinking that storage prices, they might still drop a bit more, but I'm not so sure. They are quite low at the moment historically, I guess. PCIe 5 NVMe SSDs don't seem to be dropping in price yet, which isn't surprising as these drives have barely come to market with only a few models available as of now. So if you specifically want a PCIe 5 SSD, then it might be best to wait, or yeah, for hopefully prices for those will come down eventually. But yeah, it's definitely a good time for storage, PC storage anyway. And onto the video spotlight next. Do this before I sort of do the outro. So yeah, Digital Foundry had a video where they've got a video up on their channel where they tested an AMD 4800S desktop kit. So they reviewed it. So this is basically from going by the video is the actual APU that's in the Xbox Series S. So yeah, quite an interesting watch. I won't get into too much about it. Go check it out. And it's yeah, Digital Foundry's AMD 4800S review. And yeah, I think that's all the tech coverage from me today. If you're interested, you can also check out my gaming news, which would have been published yesterday. And yeah, as always, feedback is appreciated. So go ahead and like or dislike and leave a comment. If you enjoyed my videos and commentary, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back again soon.